Northern Fringe Festival acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of Townsville, the Wulkaruka of Gurrumbilbara and Yumbanan and Bindal people. We pay our respects to their cultures, their ancestors and their elders, past, present and all future generations. My name is Lachlan Welsh and I'm the Festival Coordinator of the Northern Fringe Festival. I welcome you to the first ever Northern Fringe Festival web series. This series aims to educate, empower and inspire the artists and arts organisations from Townsville and the surrounding areas to fully embrace Fringe. We have a long list of successful Fringe artists, producers and administrators presenting throughout this 6-part series. Please enjoy, engage, ask all the questions of the presenters and let's get excited about Fringe.
Townsville, what is going on? My name is Matt Tarrant, magician, mentalist and producer for some of the most successful Fringe shows across Australia, and I'm here today to talk to you about what I think is the most important thing for any Fringe show. And it's the thing that's going to make you sell the most amount of tickets you possibly can. Marketing. So let's get straight into it and let's crack this brain open and tell you everything I know all about marketing your Fringe show.
Well, hello, my name is Matt Hale. I'm a comedy hypnotist based in Western Australia. I do perform all over the world though. And over the last few years, actually, well, probably last, I'm thinking 5 or 6, maybe 7 years, I'm performing at Fringe festivals, predominantly the Fringe World Festival in Perth, Western Australia, because it's on my home ground, but also most recently as well in Adelaide. And I tend to do it in rather a big scale. It didn't start like that. I originally started quite small, just a couple of shows as a little tester in one festival, and to the point now that I do, I think this year we did about 32 shows in the Fringe World Festival, and then I think 25 shows at the Adelaide Fringe Festival as well. So do it on fairly big scale. I go in for about a 250-seater venue now, and do manage to sell out a lot. It's taken a while to build it up to that stage, but performing at Fringe has given me these opportunities to build a show.
For me, marketing is honestly the most important thing. In fact, I almost think it's more important than the show itself, which maybe sounds a bit weird, but it kind of is the case. Now, let me sort of explain what I mean by that, because I think you can be the very best performer in the world, but if people don't know you exist, it's not going to matter really at the end of the day, because you need to make sure you do get audiences and people do come and see your show, especially if you want this to be a business. Because I guess that kind of forms the very first question you have to ask yourself. Do I want to make money from this, or do I just want to do it for some fun? Because if you just want to do it for fun, maybe don't bother about marketing. Maybe it's not that important to you. But if you genuinely want this to be a business, if you want to make some sort of money from it, you do really need to consider marketing and putting together a marketing budget, because it truly is the most important thing. Now, marketing could be many different forms. There's a bunch of different free forms of advertising I'm going to get into in a second, and a bunch of obviously paid marketing as well. And marketing does change quite rapidly. So you do also need to be, I guess, invested a little bit in how to market yourself and how to do these types of things yourself, or know that maybe it's not your strength and to pay someone to do it for you. So let's get through into that in a second about, I guess, my recommendations on what to do and how I can help, and then I guess how other people might be able to help if you don't think you can do this all yourself, because you don't need to do everything yourself.
Marketing your show yourself is incredibly important if you're part of a Fringe festival. And the reason being is, yes, you do get a little bump of publicity naturally from being in a program. That is a benefit of having a listing in the program just by the nature of being part of the event. But if the Fringe that you're taking part in is anything like most Fringes, unfortunately the truth is there's probably not enough audience to go around everybody's shows. So it doesn't matter if you've got the best show in the world, if people don't know about it, chances are it may not actually be successful, may not get seen. So marketing yourself is not only important, but it's absolutely key to your success in Fringe. And there's some people who like to think they're obviously, I'm the best at what I do, I'm the best performer ever, you know, why aren't people coming to my show? But simply put is, unfortunately, better marketers get more people to their show. I know as performers, and I'm the performer in my wife's business of what we do here, but unfortunately the performer side of me is just that little bit where I jump on the stage, and a lot of the time I spend hours every day marketing my show, trying to sell every single ticket I can by all different means. Some are paid, some are social media wise, some are just kind of pure guerrilla marketing, or just trying to jump on the TV, the radio, in doing interviews wherever. There's so many different ways to attack it, but it's just those every little extras which will help your show succeed. And the truth is, again, you may have the best show in the world, but people may not necessarily come and see it. But also, sometimes people who just have an okay show do incredibly well simply because they let people know. It's in their face everywhere they turn. You're hearing about it, or at least seeing about it.
So what are my top tips for marketing your show and marketing yourself? Well, the very first one, which comes before any type of marketing, is building a brand, and building a consistent brand that you can then, I guess, market and target an audience with. So the very first thing I recommend doing is getting an A4 piece of paper and branding yourself, writing out exactly who you are and what you want your show to be. Things like colors, things like fonts you like, even things like style and stuff. Maybe 3 common words that you think you want people to be attracted to about your show and about your artwork and about your marketing. Because if you don't do that, if you don't put that together, when it comes to actually marketing your show, it's going to be a bit of a mess. You want to really know the brand before you start to sell that brand. So, as I said, A4 piece of paper, write your name, and then write some simple, basic things about what you want your show and your brand to be, so you can then sell that. Then when it comes to putting together any marketing piece, and anything that I talk about from this point onwards, you can go back to that sheet and go, this is who I'm trying to sell. Is what I'm about to do going to achieve that? And that definitely helps. Something that I did at the very beginning. If you look at all my posters, they all have a fairly common theme. They always use black, white and teal, because I support Port Adelaide in the AFL, and they're always, I guess, kind of casual-ish. I look pretty much like I look right now, black t-shirt, a little bit of my tattoo out, and I don't have playing cards or anything like that in my posters anymore, because for me, I want people to, I guess, recognise my face and my brand more so than the playing cards. That might not work for you though. You need to work out what works for you, and that's something that I guess really comes down to building this branding sheet. So then I guess when it comes to marketing, there are obviously so many different ways to market yourself, things like TV, radio, posters, social media, all these things. But for me, when I first began, I didn't have money and I couldn't afford to do any of those things. So I needed to find a way to sell tickets to my show without spending money to sell tickets to my show, right? So one of the very first things I did was I realized that there are buskers, obviously on the street, who quite often will ask for money at the end of a show. Now, I didn't know how to busk, I hadn't busked before, but I thought, hey, maybe there's an opportunity for me to head out onto the streets and perform close-up magic to audiences and just ask them at the end of it. If they enjoyed it, I'm doing a show, come and see it. Now, that very simple idea ended up becoming a fairly advanced idea because we wanted to build it up. We wanted to really promote what I was doing. So we got a couple of friends to come out with a camera crew and some audio stuff, which we recorded a little bit of, but the batteries died, so we just pretended to record it. Because one of the things you'll find if you see a guy holding a pretty epic camera, filming someone, people want to know what's going on. So they really gathered to find out what was going on. Because I guess I was trying to brand and sell myself at the very beginning as someone much more successful and much bigger than I was at the time. You know, so it was always, I guess, dressing to impress and dressing for the job that I wanted rather than the job that I was currently at. So doing those little extra things definitely helped. So I went out basically, performed close-up magic, and at the end of that little bit, I said, guys, I'm doing a show at the Adelaide Fringe. and I would love for you to come and buy tickets, so please do. And that night we sold several hundred tickets. That was pretty successful. But there are so many other different ways to, I guess, get free marketing for yourself as well. I mean, there's publicity, first of all. Getting a really good media release together and just emailing it out to publicists can generate you some pretty good stuff. But for me, I wanted to do stuff that other people weren't doing. That all it was going to invest, I guess, was take a little bit of my time, basically. So I decided my first couple of Fringe shows, I would literally walk from business to business nearby where I was performing and introduce myself to these business owners. If they had social clubs, I'd want to speak to the social club director. If there was just a manager, I'd speak to them too. And say, hey guys, my name is Matt, I'm a magician. I'm doing my very first show at the Adelaide Fringe, and I don't know if you have a social club, but if you do, I'd love for them to come out and we can put together a package for you and all this sort of stuff. Now, when I said this to my venue, that no one had ever done it before. It was a pretty crazy new idea. And for them, I guess, and for me, it was a really easy way to, I guess, sell 20, 30, 40, 50 tickets at a time, rather than just trying to sell one or two, you know? So it was a really effective way to sell tickets. And now I do find now that I'm, I guess, bigger, when it comes to doing my Fringe shows, a lot of corporates actually come along and they now buy, you know, upwards of 100, 200 tickets just for one night, just for my show. So I guess finding an angle for me and getting to these corporates was a really good way to do that. But also getting to people that talk a lot. So hairdressers, bartenders, makeup artists, all these people that literally have probably 20, 30 minutes sitting to a customer, because you want to basically be performing or getting people to your show that are going to talk about it. So if I can get a hairdresser to come to see my show, I know for the next week, if they enjoy my show, if someone says to them, what'd you do on the weekend? I went and saw a magician on the weekend. I saw a Fringe show. He was really cool. You should go see him too. And that's another just different way to get some free marketing and free advertising out there, I guess, for your new brand, especially if you don't have a lot of money. So what are some of the best ways to market yourself? Now, I guess in this modern day and age, social media is probably the big one, and that's where I spend most of my money now, and it is an effective way to sell tickets. For me, when it comes to marketing my show, I guess I want to be able to see the results, and I want to see that the dollars I'm spending actually is producing results. So I invest quite heavily in online ads, and we have a pretty big structure in how our ads kind of work, because it's not just as easy as boosting a post and thinking it's going to sell tickets, because unfortunately it doesn't really work that way. You need to be able to find a way to create leads and generate those leads, and then I guess convert those leads into actual ticket purchases as well. So for me, we create a sales funnel through our online marketing every year. Now that is a term that if you don't know marketing won't make any sense, but for me I realized I had to learn marketing to actually sell myself. So I just found ways to learn marketing for free. I went on YouTube, I Googled Facebook ads, sales funnels, and all these marketing terms, and just learnt that. Now, you might want to do that yourself and you will become a social media marketing expert, which is great, it helps a lot. But also you might realize that's not for me. So just go out there and find someone who does have that skill and has that ability. If just sling a bit of money, I think it's beneficial to have that, because for me, social media is really probably the biggest seller when it comes to doing tickets. But there are also things like, posters, Fringe guides, quite often will have printed guides, radio, all these types of things. Now, all of those things I do quite often still use, but for me, I like marketing where I can actually see the result and see what my dollar is actually producing. When it comes to those types of marketing, it's tough. You don't always see that. So things like posters, billboards, that type of stuff, I think are nice to haves. And if you can have them, great. But you can't expect that if I put up a couple of posters in a local area, that's going to be enough to sell tickets to my show. Because unfortunately, in this modern day and age, it doesn't really work that way anymore, unfortunately. So find a way to get out there, do some free marketing. And then if you're going to only do one style of marketing, my recommendation, social, do some online ads, but do it right. So learn or find someone that already has learned. So I guess to bundle this all up into a couple of minutes, The most important thing, first of all, build a brand and know exactly who your brand is and what you're wanting to sell. Get your branding sheet, work out who your target market is and where they are going to be located. Because then when you've done that, you can then work out what your ads are going to look like and where your target market will be to sell to them. Then once you've done that, I guess it's about making sure that people that come to see your show talk about it as well. You want to make sure they have a great night, they have a great experience, but they talk about it.
So a few top tips for marketing your show as an artist. Well, my very first one seems simple, seems obvious, but not everybody does it. And that is, make sure your title and your description are so crystal clear as to what your show's about. Quite often people leave it to just the description where you find out what the show is actually about. And that can be quite tricky because on posters and even in your listings, you're going to see the title first, and the title is what's probably going to entice you to read further or think, yeah, that's the kind of thing I'd like to see. So to give you an example, when I first did my very first show, I simply called it the Matt Hale Comedy Hypnosis Show. Now, you didn't need to know who I was, but you certainly knew it was a comedy hypnosis show. Now, each year I write a brand new show for my Fringe seasons, and I have a different title for each year's show. And I'm a very big fan of puns. Excuse me. Last year's show, I made myself laugh then. Last year's show was called Feel Good Factory, and this year's show was Random Acts of Mindness. Yet I still don't just have that as the title. I always need to put what it's about. So I'll put Matt Hale Comedy Hypnotists Feel Good Factory, or Comedy Hypnotist Matt Hale's Random Acts of Mindness. So you still get the comedy hypnotist bit in there, so people know, oh, this is a comedy hypnosis show. So for example, if you were a juggling duo, right, and your name's Doom and Gloom. I'm just making this up, right? Excuse me, I've got the hiccups now. I'm not going to re-record this though. Here we go. So if you're a comedy juggling duo, you're called Doom and Gloom, and you literally just called your name the Doom and Gloom Show, unless you read the description that goes into like, Doom and Gloom are the best, funniest jugglers in the world, performed everywhere, blah, 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 you're probably not going to get to that part. So I would say you'd be calling it, Doom and Gloom, the ultimate comedy juggling show, or Comedy Jugglers Doom and Gloom, something like that. I think you get what I mean. But far too many times I can look at a title and think, I have no idea. Is this a singer? Is this a comedian? Is it a magician? Is it a hypnotist? Whatever it is. So make it clear so that when people are flicking through or see your poster, they know exactly what it is. Because if they are interested in that, they're going to look into more and then hopefully find your description. So then that leads into your description, which needs to be very quick and concise and drag that attention even more. A couple of other tips as well. So I'm just looking, I did actually make some notes on these ones. So I'm going to look down here. Yes, this is a very easy one. Lean on absolutely everyone you know who already supports you. Now, you're going to already have people who are real representatives of what you do. So if you're putting a show together, lean on them to help you put that out there. From the very basics of just emailing everybody, for basics of messaging everyone you know on social media. Give them a link and ask them to share it, or simply tag them in the post, ask them to share it in the background. You can message them and say, I've put this up, please can you share it to your page, if you don't want to publicly be saying share it. But I'm quite open about the things. I always put on things like, hey, if you've got friends who would love this show as well, please feel free to pass it on to them, please feel free to tag them underneath to share this. I find that really helps, and people do respond. People do want to help you along if they like what you do. So lean on everyone who knows you, and don't forget some kind of old school. I know old school methods of contact. Even jumping on the phone to a few friends and just saying, hey, I really need your help. If I send you an email with the details about my show, would you be able to do this? Or leaning on them in a different way. I've had people say, yeah, well, if you've got some of those flyers, I'll take them in, I'll put them at work. So there's lots of ways that the people in your network already will help you. Just do a big group SMS. Put your link in there. Ask, let them know what you're doing, what you're up to. And I'd love you to share this on your social media, or let anyone else know about this who you think may be interested. I will lead that into I just did quickly touch on the flyers thing there. Flyers are great. It's a good kind of fairly cheap way of having some quick info about your show. I'm finding them less and less necessary, but again, for that, for the reasons of kind of being seen everywhere, it's still a very cheap method. I don't like the fact of flyers just being given out just for the hell of it, like take that, take that, take that, take that, take that. But if you can have a nice little stack of flyers in someone's workplace, it stands out because chances are they don't have a stack of 20 different shows flyers. So if you can find people in your network who are willing to take a bunch of flyers in, or if you're just, I always carry flyers on me. So if I'm going into somewhere, a cafe, an office or whatever, I'll always say, hey, can I just leave a few flyers here? I'd say most of the time people will say yes. And the times that you can get them in somewhere where no one else is helps you stand out as well. All right. Find groups who may already be interested in what you do as well. So yeah, I'm a hypnotist, so it would make sense for me to find groups who are already interested in hypnosis if I was starting out and trying to build something up again. And of course, why wouldn't I message every hypnotherapy group in the region? Why wouldn't I jump on and find out some Facebook groups which are specifically to do with hypnosis in the particular market and say, hey, I'd love to invite you to come and see my show, maybe even give them a special code for a discount, whatever it is. But if you find people interested in the thing you do already, you're already talking to a kind of a warmed up audience. So go and target those people. I know that there's a friend of mine who does an amazing show which is always about nursing, and she kind of sells it out by targeting hospitals, doctors, nurses, even before the show comes to town. And she's always ahead of the curve with that. She's found her people are already interested. Yes, there's going to be other people who come to see that show who aren't in the medical profession, but you've got to go to your warm audience first if you're building things up. And I have kind of touched on it a little bit, but you need to exploit social media as much as possible, whether you're someone who uses it extensively or not. During Fringe time, boom, you've got to be on it, whether you love it or hate it. You've got to make the most of it. There's something I do, and it's time consuming, but it does help so much. I make sure all my notifications are set so that I'm alerted every time someone responds to a comment, every time I've got a post which is getting a lot of likes, that kind of thing. I go back, I check everything, I check all the comments, and I respond to every single comment. I will like every single comment. I will personally respond to every single comment. And that's quite interesting because it builds a real rapport between you and quite often strangers. You know, I do pay for some Facebook ads, and so quite often I'm getting people who are tagging their friends in some Facebook ads. So these people didn't know me before, but they'll basically be tagging people and saying, hey, this sounds like good. This sounds like fun. What do you reckon? I will jump on and say, hey, what a great idea you've chosen for your first night of Fringe. Any questions you got, let me know. Or I'll just be a little bit cheeky and just say, yeah, of course, come on down. I'll save a seat for you on the stage and things like that. It engages the people. And quite often I get a lot of comments which say, wow, I didn't realise that you would actually respond. So I think responding to people who already got a warm interest in your show, even if you never knew about them before, or if they're friends and already commenting, the more you can engage with people and bring them in and make them feel even more kind of tied to coming to see your show, the better. And also, again, with friends, make sure, I mentioned it just earlier, but lean on friends, tag them in the posts, keep letting them see it. They'll soon let you know if they don't want to see as many. But that's probably my hot few marketing tips for marketing yourself.
The best, most easiest marketing tool you can do is doing a good show, but then at the end of your show, thanking your audience, getting them to post about it, but actually investing just as much time in your show as you are selling your show at the end of it. So literally at the end of my show, I do this. Guys, thank you so much for coming to my show. I hope you enjoyed it. I truly do. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a local, and this show, this is just me. And if you did enjoy this show, there's one thing you can do to truly, truly help me out. Just tell people about it, right? So get on Facebook, get on Twitter, get on Instagram and tell people about this show, because without that, we do not get great audiences like you guys every single night. So please do that if you can. And of course, if you didn't like this show, maybe keep that to yourself. I'm going to be at that door in a second to thank you all personally, and I'll see you then. And then when I do, I'll literally run off my stage and shake every single person's hand that saw my show. Now with COVID, maybe not recommendable, but there's a way you can do that, and just to thank your audience by being out there, giving them a wave and saying thanks to seeing your show, because that creates a moment for them that's not just you up on stage, and that person is who they're going to then try to sell to their friends. So that's just another free, easy way to, I guess, sell your show. So brand, know who you're selling to, sell to those people, and then once you have those people at your show, try to convert them to become fans and to help promote your show in the future. That's just a little bit of help. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. There's a lot of information that I have in my head about marketing. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer them. And best of luck building that brand.
Well, I think the most successful medium of marketing around a Fringe Festival is probably word of mouth. I mean, the problem with Fringe Festivals is quite often so many shows that even if you have an incredible poster, you might be in a wall of 20, 30 other posters. So I will say posters are great, but I will say, you know, if you got some money to do some really big ones, some really huge ones, there's always some opportunities to spend a little bit more and do some of the bigger things. That will help you stand out for just kind of pure brand awareness. But word of mouth is going to be what's key for the success. And I will always spend a bit of time at the end of the show just saying to people, if you've loved the show as much as it seems you have done, I would love you to help me promote this show. There's so many shows out there, it's hard for us all to stand out, but with your help, you know, we're going to be able to do that. So please, if you've taken a photo tonight, tag me in it, let your friend know, share anything I put up, that kind of thing. So the word of mouth is super important and is probably the key to the most successful marketing at Fringe. So in closing, marketing at Fringe is important, and probably in some cases even more important than your actual show. Especially if you've already got a well-polished show, your marketing is what's going to make it actually a successful show. Normally there's so many shows that there's not enough to go around. I've said this before, you've got to stand it out, and there are so many free ways of doing that. So just remember, it doesn't matter what your budget is. It doesn't matter, you know, how big or small a show, how well known you are or not. The basic thing it comes down to is just doing something and putting the work in. You can't just sit back and expect that you got a show, you've listed it, the audiences are going to find me. Unfortunately, that's not the case.
Hi, my name's Katrina Appleton. I led a small team that established the North Australian Festival of Arts and the Northern Fringe Festival brands, including my mate here, Pinocchi. We collectively created and integrated campaigns that saw successful marketing of these festivals into local, intrastate and domestic markets. Over 103,000 people attending program events alone. So why marketing, and why is it important to promote your own performance? In order to sell tickets or to take audience bookings, you need to be armed with a marketing strategy that effectively promotes your performance to your target audience. This is an important step to take on right from the start. Know who you're targeting as an objective and keep this in mind throughout the whole campaign. Think of marketing as an extension of the creative process. Your marketing is a narrative that you tell that links your performance to the audience.
This is NAFTA.
A solid marketing plan is defined by the tools, techniques, and media channels you use to promote your show and gain ticket sales or attendance. It's about raising awareness, getting your work noticed by the arts community, and impressing your audience, fans, and gaining future potential funding. Not one performance is the same. However, there are many common marketing tactics you can consider. which doesn't have to cost you a lot. These include your hero image. It is important to spend some time and dedicate some resources to creating an eye-catching, powerful image for your event. This is the image that is featured within the program, on your flyers, collateral, and hopefully picked up by the media. Your performance blurb is also very important. Your blurb needs to be written so that someone who knows nothing about the arts can understand what the show, event is about. Even if your event is abstract, it does not mean the language you use to describe it should be. You need to keep things succinct, short, and sharp. Highlight reviews, highlight your performers, and your awards. Make sure you focus on what the audience will feel and experience. Social media advertising. Social media is a great way to create momentum, share news, and build your audience. Highly effective, and you do get good exposure for your money. There is a huge range of social media available, but remember, they all take time to manage, so stick and pick one or two and do them well. The most important thing is to create a bit of content and a plan so you're not just saying the same thing. Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat are common and are easy to navigate once you get the hang of them. It is also good to consider utilizing these as a two-way communication piece to connect with your audience. At a cost, you can also reach out to influencers who have a large followings to share performance experiences. Content creation, videos. With the rise of social media, it has seen the rise of short video. Socials are a great platform for short videos, or you can record lives or vox pops, an easy and smart way to promote your show, and you can do a lot on your phone these days. These could be short interviews with the artists or members of the audience that can review your show. Videos and imagery are a great way to drum up interest and help tell the story. They don't have to be elaborate or professionally produced. You may already have something that you can use. Direct marketing. Do not discount this tactic. Emails and your mailing lists. Do not be afraid to use them. Basically, send an email to everyone you have ever met or on your database. This can be a very effective way to get people to come along to your show. Accompany with an attachment of your flyer, and do not forget to ask them to forward it onto their networks. You'll be increasing your reach enormously. Cross-promotion and partnerships. Are there any partners, other complementary shows you can build a relationship with? Help spread the word from the very beginning, and in turn help each other reach a larger audience potential. Getting to know your audience and the importance of word of mouth. Investing in meeting your audience after the show, engaging with them, getting feedback, connecting, and asking how their experience was. People trust other people and the experiences they report, which means that when they hear from a friend or a trustworthy source, they are more likely to follow suit with a purchase and attend. And finally, working with the Fringe team. In the lead up to the festival, things can get pretty hectic, particularly if you are the person producing the show. Remember to create a marketing plan early. This will help you adjust as needed along the way. We have a small team that is dedicated to promoting the North Australian Festival of Arts and the Northern Fringe Festival. The more proactive you can be with providing your marketing kit, which includes the hero image, a blurb, interesting stories and videos, images, the more we can try to assist with your promotion. Thank you. I cannot wait to once again work with all of our artists and help bring NAFA and the Northern Fringe Festival back in 2021.